Welcome to Navigating Single Fatherhood, the podcast dedicated to empowering single fathers on their unique journeys. Because of my single fatherhood journey, I understand the challenges and the triumphs that come with this incredible experience. Each week, I'll share valuable insights, practical advice, and actionable strategies to help you navigate single fatherhood. Join me as I chat with a variety of experts in areas such as mental health, wellness, and even personal finance. Here's some inspiring stories from fellow single dads doing some amazing things. You can be one of them. Plus, I offer my personal experiences to support you in overcoming obstacles and celebrating those victories. Together, we'll build a community of strong, resilient fathers to embrace the journey of single fatherhood. Are you ready to come along? Subscribe to the JL3 Motivation Channel, like each episode, and share this important information with every single father you know. Because the more tools we have access to, the more equipped we become for our journey. Be sure to tap the bell to be among the first to get the latest episodes as soon as they come out. Single fathers, you don't have to do this alone. Thanks for coming back to see another episode of Navigating Single Fatherhood. Today, I have Coach Brian Parana. He talks to men about using nutrition and health and exercise to be able to better manage their day-to-day functions. Brian, talk to the audience a little bit about what it is that you actually do.
Right, definitely. Well, me as a person, I'm 42 years young. I married my high school wife, my high school sweetheart. She's my wife now, and that leads us to 4 kids. I have 2 teenagers in high school, 2 in middle school, 3 boys and a girl, 15 to 10. Life is crazy busy. The biggest thing that interests me is being a father, being a parent, being a leader, and that's why Jay, I reached out to you in the first place when you were looking for more opportunities to talk to people. Now, one unique thing is we travel a lot. We've been to all 50 states, all 6 of us. We've done multiple countries, continents. We're actually going to work our way through all 7. A very unique, interesting is we have a lot of family bonding and a lot of core memories getting made all along the way. Who am I professionally? Well, for the last 23 years, I've been in the health, nutrition, fitness industry coming out of basically high school and college. I taught group exercise classes. I have a nutrition exercise degree, a personal trainer. I've owned 2 CrossFit gyms back in 2010 to 2015. The last dozen years, I've spoke with men and women over remote online health coaching to help them lose weight, improve digestion, battle chronic illness and disease, all sorts of different things. But what leads me to today, what I'm doing, I'm focusing on men. In our 40s and 50s, men can be lonely. They can be isolated due to the responsibilities that are in their life, from family to friends and definitely work pressures to perform. And men isolate themselves and they pour all their energy into those avenues and not into their health. And I'm here to help people start paying attention to their health because everyone has many problems every single day. But when you have a health problem, you now have one problem. You have one problem, and
Right.
that can really take your eye off of everything else. To get labeled with diabetes, and all of a sudden your world changes quite a bit. It doesn't have to be honest. You can keep going in your ways, but then you might lose a foot, literally. And that is not the type of quality of life most people are looking for. So that's me in a nutshell.
It's interesting because everything you're talking about when it comes to, like you said, slightly older man, 40, 50, but in the world of single parents, it's incredibly interesting because we spend all of our time taking care of everything else,
Right.
taking care of everyone else, and ignoring ourselves. But it's like the old airline analogy. The stewardess would say, put your mask on first and then put your mask on everyone else to help them.
Exactly.
We have this tendency to ignore that because society allows us to believe that helping everyone else at our own behest is the honorable thing to do.
Right.
But what you just said earlier, and it's not really funny, like diabetes, for instance,
Right.
can cause somebody to lose a limb.
Mm-hmm.
When you're spending all of your time taking care of other people and ignoring yourself, and you're using different things like, I don't know, you may be the donut guy, and that is your way of calming down.
Right.
But eating all that sugar creates another problem. And then when you mix that, the belief that you don't have time to exercise, you don't have time to work out because you have everything else going on. How do you help men who are not necessarily the I want to do the CrossFit, I want to train, I want to work out, but I do want to stay healthy? What are
Right.
some of the ways you would suggest that can help them keep moving forward
Right.
and manage everything they're doing?
I will tell you that the majority of people that I do work with come to me with problems. I'm 20, 30, 50 pounds overweight. I have this thing going on, high blood pressure, this disease. I have digestion issues. That's 80%, 90% of the people. It's not too often that I see, hey, I want to perform better in my workouts. I want to run a marathon. I want to continue to live at the peak of my health. I don't see people in those areas because they don't necessarily need to focus as much unless they have that driven mindset to find a coach to perform better, and all power to them. And that's where with the Call to Rise, leading men who are fathers, that are men that want to level up, and they realize their health is actually giving them a disadvantage in life because of lack of productivity. There's no energy, the focus is all over the place. Now, when we talk about how to identify getting started with someone, is their desire and their drive to move into a healthier position, right? I'm not going to go out on the side corner and say, hey, work with me to lose weight, right? Thousands of people will walk past me, right? Because there's not an urgent need in a sense. But when I can have actual real conversations with people about where they're physically at in their health, their nutrition, their lifestyle behavior habits, then we start to create conversation and interaction, and see that maybe their health is actually causing them to not live as the way that they want. So we need a reason why for them to actually start stepping forward and being able to consistently move toward that outcome of bettering themselves. And then we come up with a plan, a simple plan, a step by step plan to be able to help move them from this position to this position where they want to be successful. And we start closing that gap and allowing them to just incrementally move, because we can't put, if someone's already busy, and I can assure you, Jay, and you probably run into it with your coaching, everyone with all caps, probably exclamation points, is busy. They're busy. They have so many things to that going on. And I'm looking for the opportunities, these small little incremental opportunities to interject an action point, a stop and think point, a let's reassess this choice that you're about to make, because old persona is going to go to fast food or alcohol or donuts or whatever to stress relief, because the pressure's building and you need that valve release. And most people find those type of activities to do it. Just let's sit and Netflix and chill for hours on end. That's not going to solve your problems.
Right.
The problems are waiting for you as soon as you get up and get moving again. And so those are going to be some of the easiest beginning ways.
We talked about it yesterday. A lot of those things are band aids on gunshot wounds.
Yes.
What people don't realize is that the more and more you do these temporary fixes, the worse your circumstance gets because
Right.
you have an illusion of thinking that it's getting better because temporarily it's solving your problems. All it's doing is creating a delayed response. Then, 2 years later, it gets so enormous that you have no idea how to address it. How do you help to create that stopgap so that guys can understand, hey, listen, what you're doing right now is comfortable. But what you need to do is look at your long term goal to create true comfortability, not temporary comfort
Right.
and satisfaction.
First, the person needs to be ready to be coached, to be open to change. You can't open a closed door. You can't
Right.
walk through those. As soon as the door, if the door's cracked just a little bit, like that much, then that's an opportunity to be able to get in and have the door open wider to be able to work through. I love analogies and metaphors and all that. Talking and those things really help people think about it. What we're doing is a pattern interrupt. And being fathers, that would imply that you have children. And what do we teach our children? From the moment they start walking and they put shoes on that aren't Velcro, they have shoelaces. Tie your shoes. We want to instill this pattern interruption into your world to get you to stop and tie the shoe when it comes undone. But there has to be this self awareness that that happens in the first place. And my job as a coach is to teach, and you would do the same, is to teach your men to double knot the laces. Therefore, the shoelaces come undone a lot. They're way less likely to come undone, right? I've got my kids, especially my second one. I remember just even a couple weeks ago, I said, "Hey, your Chuck Taylors, they're they're not tied. Your shoelace is untied. You should probably stop and tie those." You know what he did? He shrugged. Eh. And we can walk with our shoes untied, and nothing can happen. Or we can walk and we stumble, we trip, we fall, we face plant. You don't necessarily know at which point you might face plant in a sense. Let's pay attention to those shoelace moments in your world at which you need to stop. An example would be Bill. Bill has a very long, busy day. He's got a lot of responsibility at work. He's tired. He has to come home and he needs to eat some food and also prepare for his kid. At that point, he has his decision. Does he make something that's there in the fridge? Does he fall into the I want to be lazy category and just order takeout or go through a fast food line to remedy that situation? The outcome of that tiny decision there can determine, is he moving toward taking better care of himself or away from taking better care of himself? And oftentimes the not tying the shoe properly in the first place or double knotting is there's just a complete lack of preparation or planning on the front end. When he gets home, if he has food available, he can make something that can be considered quick and easy and not a TV dinner that you throw in a microwave. The best way, you go to the grocery store, have food that's readily available, and let's cook and prepare it to be ready in a reasonable time frame for Bill to be successful. But as we spoke the other day, cooking is a skill set. And if
Right.
he Bill doesn't have the skills around cooking and preparing food, that's where we have to start paying attention.
Right.
And that becomes the gap that we need to start to fill. Okay, you don't know how to have food in an enjoyable, easier to prepare time. Let's figure that out. How do we start making really basic meals? Yesterday, I grilled during after our talk. I grilled burgers. I threw burgers onto the grill. I then washed potatoes, poke them with a fork to make sure they don't blow up in the microwave,
Right.
put them in the microwave, pressing the potato button, and I diced fresh vegetables. That was dinner. I didn't have to do much. All I had to do is make sure I didn't burn the burgers on the grill. That was it. And then it was fine. And that was a fast, easy, and everything was done by the time the potatoes were out of the microwave. And then we sat down and ate as a family, and it tasted good.
What a lot of people don't realize, there's a difference between being a person that can cook and being a chef. There's no reason to sit there and watch someone like Gordon Ramsay or Emeril Lagasse
Right.
and then tell yourself, I can't do it. No.
Right. I
Yeah, I
can't do
mean,
that.
I can't do what they do, but like you said, I can throw some food on the grill. I can throw something in the microwave. We can be inventive with the things we want to eat. But we can also meal prep. There is
Right.
nothing wrong with eating the same meal 3 days out of the week. If you need variety, find a way.
Here's a great variety strategy. If I didn't have so much people in my house, I was single, I'd be so lazy about this. I would cook dinner, make 3 servings, have the second serving for my breakfast, the third serving for my lunch, and then I'd make something new for dinner. And I would just repeat that process for the week. And next thing you know, I have 6 days of food,
Right.
or even not every day of food managed. I had something different all the time. And that would be the easiest, because there is some food preparation. You can't just whip it up
Right.
out of nowhere unless you do have skill sets or a planned attack, or you've done it more than a few times. So you have these systems and processes built into it.
This whole conversation extends. When you're a single father, you're always wondering, what am I going to do to take care of the kids? What am I going to do? When you meal prep for that quote unquote army, realize they're mirroring you. So when you prepare a meal and when you eat the healthier choice, they're going to mimic you, and they're going to say this salad and this white rice and this chicken wasn't necessarily a bad meal. This is the cornerstone of family health regimens.
Right.
And you extend that out to some type of family exercise program where you and the kids can do something that might be beneficial for everybody. I think we talked about one of the kids might play soccer
Right.
or one of the kids might swim. You can get in the pool, maybe help them master their particular stroke, or play goalie while they're kicking the ball around. What that does do, it allows your body to be able to move. You're increasing your serotonin levels, your norepinephrine. All these hormones are coming together. They're lowering your levels of stress. Then at the same time, you're creating a bonding ritual between you and your children. It's a memory they won't forget. When they scored on daddy,
Ah,
that's something they remember. Or when they beat daddy in a race, these are things they remember. They remember that my dad took the time
yeah.
to invest in me.
Right.
We talked about this before. Athletics was just one avenue. You could be in chess. You could be a mathlete. You know,
Right.
you could be a video gamer. The bonding that's being
Right.
created,
Right.
you are understanding whatever their avenue is. When you make an active decision
Right.
to go into their world,
Right.
because they'll make a decision to come into your world. So now you guys are building this two-way street type of effect. Looking at exercise, good nutrition, you are combating all of the challenges that society is telling you that you should just give in. You're better off. There are 95 fast
Hey,
food
you
places.
are a cash cow if
Right.
you are overweight. You will make a lot of people a lot of money if you are overweight. marketers, big pharma, the healthcare system, food makers. They want you to buy their high processed food, everything that's quick and easy, gain the weight, get on medicine, and spend more time at the doctor than you spend out on a field playing.
It extends to their kids because when you
Mm-hmm.
decide to take the convenient approach, you'll give your kids that opportunity. I was reading this blog and I went on this website, uh, UFC Benioff, and they were talking about the fact that one out of every six kids are overweight.
Yeah.
And then it went to a point where they were saying that one out of every five of those children are obese. Imagine what their family is. Mom and dad or single dad, you might be overweight. So your kids see as acceptable.
So,
Then it extends to even worse. A few years ago, Instagram was having this issue with young girls in this body
oh,
dysmorphia
right.
situation. You're looking at young girls who are having issues with their bodies, but at the same time, they're being fed this fast food lifestyle.
Yep.
Some single parents may make the mistake of saying filling up your child is equaling to nourishing your child. And that's not the case. There are empty calories in a lot of the fast food type of thing. For single fathers, you have to make a conscious choice because your kids are going to follow you. You set the precedence. Setting the precedence means that I'm doing this on Monday, I'm doing this on Tuesday. If you don't like it, then you might be hungry for 3 days. I'm not going to give you $20 to go to McDonald's.
Right.
I'm going to put you in a position where you're going to find a way to eat in an alternative way that will benefit you, give you the energy that you need, will address circumstances like I talked about the body dysmorphia thing. If you are an overweight young girl and you're looking at all these models on Instagram, you want to figure out how to get there. Start by creating a nutrition regimen and an exercise regimen that will work to your advantage. We're talking about single fathers here. You are carrying a load with you. You're not walking this journey alone.
No.
You want to be healthy. You want to be energetic, and you want to make sure that your kids see that. You also want to make sure that your health is taking precedence. You got to put your mask on first.
Right.
And when you put your mask on first, you can help your children more effectively.
Right. Show up,
Also,
be there, be a leader.
exactly. Big part of the reason why you do what you do is when it comes to family, when it comes to working out, when it comes to all these things, is because you grew up in a situation where you had two divorced parents and
Right.
you had to navigate your father's single fatherhood journey with him at
Right.
certain points in your life. How did that affect you?
That is important to understand our upbringing and how that impacts us in all sorts of different ways, from actual fatherhood or watching your parents or parent cook, or how active they are, what type of job they have, what type of wisdom do they bestow upon you in your growing childhood, or did they just let you do whatever? Okay. Now, in my world, I had loving parents. They just weren't good for each other and they parted ways. So around 12, 13, that's how old I was. I saw my dad every other weekend and he would come to activities as well. That was just what I had known. That's what I remember. I don't really remember family time or where my mom and dad were together. I just don't have any recollection of those memories. My memories of my youth were a split parent. I lived with my mom. I enjoyed being with my dad. I always wanted to wrestle him. I wanted to be active and I wanted to do things with him. And we would when we go. But that was going from middle school into high school. And then in high school, We still pretty involved. I remember he got me to get motorcycle license. I got temps. I never actually got the license, but he rode a motorcycle. I rode one too because I wanted to be like dad. And we would go to, he was a deputy sheriff. We would go to the shooting range and shoot, and we would do that once a month, all every summer. I remember shooting M1 Grands and a couple other different guns at targets, and that was part of our time that we spent together. But as I went into college, there became a dissonance. Now, both Amer and I come from divorced parents, multiple remarriages in there. There's 11 or something crazy, and that has taught us to come closer and bond together because I can't repeat that down the road, especially when we have 4 kids. That's a hot mess in and of itself. But as we got into the college years, I started, my responsibilities grew. Right, I've got work, I've got school, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm interacting in a relationship with Amber, and my dad just became more distant, and it was just through proximity and him not necessarily taking it on himself to be in my life, be engaged as much as he did. I said, Dad, I like riding bicycles, not motorcycles. And I was training for triathlon and such. Now, I think I even biked to his house from Akron to Canton. I've only seen him in 2 or 3 times in my 20s, later 20s, after I graduated in 2004. I haven't really seen him at all. He's in this house that I'm at now. He's never been to. My prior house I owned for 10, I've been in this house for 10 years, and my prior house I owned for 10 years. He would only came one time. And when I got into purchasing that house and getting into fatherhood and becoming a husband and all those, in reverse order, husband first, purchase the house, and then fatherhood, I thought he was going to be there and help and be the guide to help do things. I can't tell you how many laminate floors I've laid in different rooms in my houses all by myself because YouTube taught me.
Right.
And I just refuse to participate on that level with my kids. I'm going to be there. They need some help, a handyman, they need something. I'm connecting with them and spending time doing something with them because they're going to remember me as their father, a person who interacted. You talked about playing goalie with your kids, right? Both of your girls played soccer and they were pretty good at it. My daughter at age 10, she knows she can kick my butt in soccer. She can score goals on me all day long. And why? Because I don't go out there and just be ruthless with her. I let her score
Right.
goals, and I let her to have a high self-confidence because that benefits me too. I want my daughter to be a bold, confident, independent person.
Right.
So things that my dad had taught me was how to treat my wife, how to treat my kids, how to take care of myself through a lack of participation.
Right. When you are a child of a single parent, I was as well. Two things can happen. You can follow the leader to go down that quote unquote rabbit hole to hell,
Right,
or you can take a total reversal and do something different. Your choice, you and your wife's choice, were to make sure you build that relationship with your children, the relationships that perhaps you guys did not have.
right,
I have that same type of feeling when it comes to my girls. My father, he found out about his granddaughters. He was like, oh man, I got grandkids. I always say this. He was a horrible father, but an awesome grandfather.
well,
The
at least he
girls,
could redeem himself.
that was it. And but the point that I'm making is single fathers understand. You may have made mistakes in the past,
Right,
but as Bob Marley said, there's always a redemption song. Earlier we talked about this. Choice leads to decisions.
right,
And those decisions culminate into some type of action.
yep,
And that action will always produce a consequence. But the consequence does not have to be negative. Depending on the initial choice to create the decision, to culminate into the action will allow the consequence to be either negative or positive.
Right.
As a single father, the choices that you make have to be the difference between choices of self and choices that are going to benefit the entire group.
Right.
When you make a choice of self, for instance, you decide to go to the bar and you got the kids at the house, that's a choice for self.
Right.
Because on the other side, the kids just doing anything.
Right.
If you make the choice to say, you know what, let's all go hang out somewhere. Let's do this, let's do that. You're incorporating them into the circumstance. And our conversation was initially about the value of exercise, but I also want to let single fathers know that exercise and nutrition, these can be incredible vehicles
Right.
to mesh the bonding relationship. It doesn't matter if your kids are involved in a particular sport or if they're involved in a particular activity. It's all about creating the bonding situation. When you look at doing things like exercise, it can open up so many other opportunities.
Yes. Yep.
Let the audience know how to get in touch with you.
Yeah. Now, to get a hold of me, I am at thecalltorise.com, at the call to rise on Instagram, or even you can find me at Coach Brian Parana on all the social medias. The call to rise is a 100-day fat loss experience, with the goal of focusing on fitness, on nutrition, on well-being first and foremost, to get 20 pounds plus off of you, have better system and process of taking care of yourself, be able to show up with energy and confidence in your body to be a better father, to be a better man. That's what we're about here at the Call to Rise. And that's exactly it. Will you answer your call to rise to be better? And that's how I want to lead my legacy moving forward here in the next 10, 20 years of guiding men through empowering themselves. And let's do that in 100 days and then move on to the next part of what it is. Because if you don't have to think about what you're eating tonight, you have a lot more mental resources to think of other things to do or to become, or you can actually have confidence to go get the job, go get the girl, go get the obviously the better relationships with your kids or whatever's on your heart.
Brian, we can have this conversation all day.
Yep.
Thanks for seeing another episode of Navigating Single Fatherhood, and I will talk to y'all next week. My interview with Coach Brian Parana, it started out as a conversation for fathers to build a healthier lifestyle for themselves. And then it morphed. It morphed into multiple layers of why. That why, it ranged from those aspects of personal health, like we were talking about, to different ways to encourage your children to live better lives by using things like fitness and nutrition as vehicles to strengthen that relationship. Single fathers, understand that creating a healthier lifestyle for yourself is that incredible opportunity to strengthen that bond between you and the kids. Make sure to like and share these valuable insights because every little nugget of knowledge helps you navigate your single fatherhood journey. Subscribe to the channel at JL3 Motivation 0108 so you can get this information and everything we discuss on the Navigating Single Fatherhood podcast.